Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Let's Skill Up podcast. This is where we jam out about training, lessons learned, war stories that we have, and overall consider what are some best practices that we can put into place to make our training even more effective. My name is Carrie Champlin-Albaran, and I'm joined by Charles Fellingham. Hey, Charles, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be back with you.
Excited about this topic. This is a challenging topic. Today we're talking about imposter syndrome in the training room. So when we as trainers feel that imposter syndrome, considering what if we are not the expert in the training room, but we're there to make experts even greater experts. What do you think about this topic, Charles? Have you ever experienced this?
Yeah, I've experienced it in two ways. One, I've experienced it myself early in my training career, as I think just about every trainer does. And I experience it all the time when I'm training trainers in the training room because I bring up the subject and it ignites a conversation and a lot of thought.
Same. I have very similar experience. I first started training when I was in my early 20s, and I'm originally from the US. I was in Mexico, working with CEOs, C-suite. This is me in my 20s, speaking a different language, and I was thinking, what am I doing in front of these incredibly experts in the room? What am I doing here? What right do I have to be here? I very much remember this experience, and then other situations too. I remember at a mortgage company, I was training underwriters, and I had 2 weeks of underwriter training under my belt. So we definitely experience it. It is a big challenge. Why do you think we're put into these situations, or why do we put ourselves into these situations?
Well, it's pretty much sometimes not by choice, oftentimes not by choice. We're the content deliverers, and we're told who the audience will be. And then it's up to us to understand what that audience is and needs. And our first question is, if I'm delivering to engineers, what do I know about what engineers are thinking in this particular environment? And that's the first creeping thought of, I am not worthy. They're going to look at the front of the room and say, this isn't an engineer. What does he know? And you can't let that thought overwhelm you.
hmm Even, yesterday I was delivering a workshop, and we were talking about measurement and the importance of measurement and kind of flipping our mindset around measurement, where typically we think from an L&D, a learning, a capability building standpoint. We think, why are we doing this? To develop people. But if we flip the script, why are we doing this from a business standpoint? That was the point of the workshop. And again, I had that same experience of, I'm working with these individuals who have been doing this already for quite a while. They already know a good bit of this. So what is my role here? And I think about the word facilitator and how we truly are facilitators of learning, facilitators of skill building. It's not necessarily our role to know all the things. It's to facilitate that learning acquisition or that skill building itself. What are your thoughts there?
So important. And that helps with our prep. Because I remember the first time I really was overwhelmed with this particular affliction of imposter complex, I call it. And that is, I was asked to lead a discussion from some executives at an organization about mission, vision, values. And I've been in executive management, so I know the importance of that. And I've been through sessions where we've delivered that. So that was good. I had that experience. But at the same time, this particular company, I was not immersed in them. I got myself immersed in them. The executives I didn't know personally. And so I had to do a lot of research to understand, what their mission, vision, values is now and where they wanted to take it. And you're right. When I was in the room actually facilitating, I was just guiding a discussion, capturing thoughts, summarizing, asking questions. I didn't have any idea of what their mission, vision, values should be. That was my role, and I accepted it and then got very comfortable with it.
I think that's so important to, in a sense, let go, right? Let go of the trying to control everything, let go of trying to, yes, we want to drive a specific outcome, but we're driving the outcome in the effort or with the purpose of helping these individuals to drive the outcome that works best for them, that they need. And I think you speak to something that's really important, that we oftentimes feel this imposter syndrome when we know less about our audience. So the more prep that we can do,
Oh yeah.
um, with what's available to us, the more we're able to combat, in a sense, that imposter syndrome and complement it with embrace the unknown and let go.
That's it, right? You have the talent to guide a conversation. I mean, that's what we do really for a living. It was interesting. I was in a training a number of months ago with a new group of trainers. This was a company that said, "Hey, we want to get some of our people upskilled to be trainers in our organization because we want to rely more on our own people rather than contractor trainers." But they contracted me to come in and train them. And I brought up this subject of imposter complex. And one of them raised their hand timidly and said, "What is that?" And I said, "It is when you don't feel worthy or you've earned the right to be in front of a group of people, either because you can't identify with them, you have no experience in what they're doing, or you feel as though their position is elevated above you." And then they all nodded and they went, "Oh, yeah, that is where we are." And what do we do? And I said, "Well, understand what you're the expert at."
Mhm.
It's what we just talked about. And that is getting them to think out loud and organize their thoughts into an outcome that they seek, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Understand what our role is in the training room. And again, our role is to facilitate, right? To help to drive that discussion. Ideally, not just drive that discussion, but drive that practice around the skill that they're trying to build. I think back to that mortgage company that I was working for, where I was training very experienced underwriters. And again, I had about 2 weeks of underwriting training under my belt. And I remember first session, this was virtual too. First session, I thought, what am I doing here? And I decided, you know what? That's not my role. It's not my role to be the expert because you know what? We already have all of the content available to us. They have all of their underwriting experience from their careers. And all we have to do is make sure that as they're new hires to this organization, that they understand the approach to underwriting at this organization. We have all of that in our knowledge base. So how can I, as the facilitator here, leverage the knowledge base plus their previous experience to drive a discussion and activities that help them to understand the organization's approach to underwriting? And again, flipping that script, one, it helped me to battle that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Two, it made the training so much more effective because now they're not just listening to me for hours and hours and hours and hours in this virtual setting where they would likely tune out, but they're actually doing things with the information, with the content and the knowledge base that they already have access to. So they're getting that exposure, they're getting that practice, and they're getting that understanding of, I know where to go when I have questions because I'm not going to remember all of this anyway.
Yeah, what you just suggested is how we take control. But it's interesting. When I was talking about imposter complex with this team that I was training, I was saying something that was seemingly familiar to them, and that is that when you encounter this imposter syndrome in the front of the room, it could overwhelm you if you let it. Your emotions sort of get a grip, and all of a sudden your brain goes blank, and you show and demonstrate lack of confidence. And I find that giving yourself a pep talk often, I mean, even while they're working on something and you are thinking ahead of what's next, give yourself a pep talk. You're doing great. Keep it up. They're with you. Stay strong. And it really does help guide you through a situation that you stressed about because you have this imposter shadow that's following you around.
Yeah, yeah. I do something similar. I remember my why. Why am I here? Why am I a trainer? I'm not the expert in the room. There's so many incredible people in this room with so much great expertise. I'm here to help them to reach their goals. I'm the guide on the side, even. I'm here to help them to have that conversation and to take ownership of that learning.
Mhm.
As you said, that moment when we go blank in front of the room, I've had that happen so many times.
Yeah.
Oftentimes because of imposter syndrome. And one thing that has helped me is to this can be either virtual or in person. If it's in person, to say, turn to your neighbor and discuss what we just what we were just talking about, or how this might land in
Yeah.
your world, your role. Virtually, it might be, all right, let's take a moment, jot your thoughts down in the chat. How might this land? What could this look like if we were to apply it in our real world?
Mhm.
That always gives me a moment to breathe, to maybe check my notes, remember my why, and remember what's coming next.
That's it.
Do you have any of your um, pro tips or back pocket go-tos that you use when you are in that moment?
Yeah, just stay organized, like you said. Think ahead, keep your head in the game. Don't drift. We don't take breaks while we're facilitating. I mean, when they may be in a small group working on something, we're inserting ourselves in that small group and listening so we can use things later on that were said in the group. And so by staying in the game and staying focused, thinking ahead, it tends to wash away the effects of imposter syndrome. There is something that happens though that I do want to address, and that is you're dealing with a group of mid-level managers, and all of a sudden their senior leader walks in the room, and I'm just going to be back here just observing. Don't worry about it. And all of a sudden you're snapped back into, oh my gosh, I'm on the spot now. I've got to be top of game. Well, you should be top of game anyway, but you know,
Right.
those kind of things when they happen, adapt to the change, be agile, embrace it, accept it, look at it as an opportunity, not as a challenge to your confidence.
Hmm. And we need to continue to remember we're here for a purpose, right? And we're here because we have this level of expertise in facilitation. We don't have to change our entire approach just because the leader of those mid-level leaders came into the room. We just need to continue to lean into what we know works that helps to drive that learning itself and skill acquisition.
Exactly. Yeah, just by staying focused, it allows you to not let your emotions or the things that are creeping in the back of your head that could steal you away from the moment. It keeps that from becoming front and center.
Hmm.
It's all of the things that we've talked about. For you new trainers out there who are dealing with this, there's tremendous hope in just preparing well and being in the moment when you're delivering.
And know that you're not alone.
That's right.
I
You're
think about how you mentioned where we don't take breaks and we're always in the room, right? We're always with our participants. We're listening, and I think that's another pro tip to help to battle this imposter syndrome. The more connected we get, the more connected we feel with our participants, the more that we know them as people and we can relate to them, bounce back and forth with a very simple flow of conversation, not a formal presentation, the easier it is to battle that imposter syndrome and just say, I know why I'm here. I'm here to facilitate.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Just make it conversational. Don't
Mhm.
put pressure on yourself to present and be judged as a presenter. That's a small part of this. It's interesting too. I wanted to mention that oftentimes we may be delivering in the front of the room to a group of mid-level managers or executives or whatever, and sitting in the back of the room with their computers up and notepads out are the learning and development people who design the content. And you're up front going, I wonder what they're thinking about how I'm doing. And here's my advice. Don't wonder. Go back when it's convenient, take a knee, look at them and say, don't ask, how am I doing? Say, am I hitting all the right places or is there something I should emphasize more?
Mhm.
Get them to be a partner with you as opposed to as opposed to not being that.
Exactly. I can. I see myself in that moment. It's happened so many times when I've had that learning and development partner in the background, and I have taken that approach, yes, of where do we need to lean in more? What are you noticing from the group? Leveraging them as that partner, as that extra set of eyes, puts them on our team, right? And it makes the delivery itself much more collaborative.
It does. Well, this has been wonderful. It's been so good working out with you again. We like to riff on the important things that trainers need to know and do. And I look forward to hearing from you out there who watch this podcast and let us know what you think. Maybe you've got some tips that we could offer everybody else as well.
Exactly. Remember again, everyone, imposter syndrome, we're not alone in experiencing it. We don't just experience it at the beginning of our training careers. It's something that we navigate the entire time. And remember, we are here as trainers to facilitate that learning, to facilitate that skill acquisition, and ultimately drive impact. If you enjoyed our podcast today, continue to follow us, continue to listen in or watch us in these jam sessions. And like Charles mentioned, let us know what you're battling with. Let us know what you're experiencing, and we can bring those ideas into these podcasts as well. For now, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.